Well, hi everybody, welcome back. It is Monday night and we're happy to be here. Monday means, well, first of all, I'm Kevin.
Yes, and I'm Lisa.
And it's Monday, which means
it's Marriage Monday.
It's Marriage Monday.
For those of you who chose to join us, thank you so much.
It's really great to have you here on our YouTube live streaming channel. And for all of you who are here, or those who will be joining us live and be joining us in the chat, we're grateful to have you. And it's time for us to go ahead and get started. Let us know that you're here. Join us in the chat a little bit. And actually, we want to do this. We love to interact with the people who are with us live. We know that some people will be watching this later. You can't do it later. But if you're with us in the moment on Monday night, join us live in the chat and tell us this. We'll jump right in, right off the bat. Tell us in the chat one thing that you love. What's really great about being married? Tell us something that is really great about being married, and I suppose sky's the limit. You could say anything you want.
So what would you say is one really great thing about being married?
There's
Just to put you on the spot right away.
There's a lot of great things about being married. You know what I think about, my favorite thing about being married is just having somebody that I really connect with. No offense to everybody else out there, but to really connect with you, I don't really care if I connect with anybody else. Is that wrong? Is that wrong to say? I think it is. But so,
has anyone said anything?
Some people are already joining us and saying things like their favorite thing about being married is have friends for life, which is great. Living with my best friend, that's really, really awesome. Companionship. Yada or yada. That's an important part.
Yes.
I wonder if someone's
sorry, go ahead.
If someone's just joining us, I wonder if they know what yada is. To really, what does it mean by definition?
Does it mean to know? To know someone?
That's right.
Yeah.
It's a Hebrew word
and
for
to know intimately.
To really know. To really know. And so it's one of all those great commands in the scriptures that God desires to know, and for humans to know him. It's yada. But then when it comes to husbands and wives, that knowing, that intimacy is so great. That physical intimacy, sexual intimacy is also referred to yada there as well. So that's pretty good. Thank you so much. I think it was Carrie who said that. Love being married. I guess my eyes are going bad because I always have my best friend close. Listen to this one. A couple of things. I love learning, growing together, and the sex. Male or female? Can you predict? Male or female? Who wrote that?
I don't know.
Male.
Yeah.
Definitely male. Eating good food. Isn't that great?
Did you get that part of the bargain?
I eat good food.
I guess so.
You make really
yeah, but
great
some of the
food.
people that join us are amazing cooks.
It's true.
Amazing, yeah.
And we're good. Cook. You're a great cook.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you really are. And I like to eat, so that's perfect. Journeying together, all those kind of things. Okay, we're going to switch it up in the chat right now. Go ahead and now we're going to do the opposite, but this isn't to depress you. But since you're talking about what are the great things about marriage, now share with us what are the more difficult things about being married, right? Because we don't want to live in just the clouds and say marriage is perfect. In fact, that's what Marriage Mondays are really all about, even if it's not.
That marriages are perfect or not perfect.
That marriages aren't perfect.
Yes.
And if they aren't perfect,
it's a great opportunity to have a reset. Every Monday. If you focus on your marriage once a week, you are awesome and you're doing really good. So
give yourself a point, give yourself a star. But tell us, what are some of the challenging things about marriage? I've got a challenging thing. What do you think, Lisa, about my beard? You haven't made any comments about my beard. Yeah. How long have I been growing my beard now? 4 days, 5 days, something like that? 5 days?
You know what I think about beards.
You want to tell people in the live stream world what you think about my. Go ahead, give me a kiss.
I think there's different kinds of beards.
Go ahead, give me a kiss.
There's different kinds of hair, and yours happens to be like very bristly, very.
That wasn't much of a kiss. I just want to say that. But
enjoy it while it lasts. It won't last long, so.
Oh, okay. So some of the challenges that come with our marriage, or that are in our marriage, that is difficulties about marriage, right? Having Oh, well, that's a good thing, actually. I think I'm still looking at some of the good things. Having a loving partner takes care of you when you're sick, right?
Nice.
That's awesome. What are some of the challenging things? Someone says, someone's very spiritual and said the little foxes. Little foxes.
Oh,
So if
I
you
know that reference.
If you know the
Yeah,
Bible,
Song
then
of
you know. But if you
Songs.
don't know the Bible and you're just an average person you think this person is a trapper by nature or something like that. Communication about
challenging.
Is yes.
Okay.
Communication about debt is challenging.
Oh,
Of
yes,
course,
yes.
debt is
Yeah,
a killer to
very
marriages, right? We
stressful,
know
very
that.
stressful.
She keeps on refusing to let me install the aquarium. Rough life. That's a rough life. You know, I used to have a lot of aquariums, and my wife put up with that.
I did.
And I sunk
A lot of aquariums.
a lot of money into that
A lot
hobby.
of money, yes.
And just till we said that is enough.
I think all the fish died
Oh,
one day, and that
That's
was it.
the point of aquariums. Eventually, all the fish
No, but
die.
I mean, the whole tank died.
Yeah,
it was a disaster.
It was a mass killing. It was not good. Submission is a tough part of marriage. Submission, that's interesting. Lack of freedom, tough part of marriage. Refusing to get space or to give me space is challenging. Your flaws are revealed. That's challenging about marriage. Seeing the other person suffer, there is a lot of things that are challenging about our marriages, and that's the reason we're here on Monday nights. I'm going to go ahead and get us started. What do you think? It's time for us to go ahead and get started. Let's help these people with their marriages, since clearly no, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to manipulate you in that way. But for those of you who are watching, if you're watching live stream with us right now, we're grateful to have you. If you're not, and you're watching this a little bit later, we interact with the people who are live with us. We usually get, I don't know, if there's couples, we usually get a couple hundred people or close to, who knows, 200, 300 people that come live with us, and we like to take advantage of the chat and just interact with them. But if you're watching this later, hang in there. There's going to be some good stuff for you as well. So we have been talking in the last few weeks about the 5 phases of marriages that are the 5 phases that any marriage typically goes through.
Generally speaking, yeah.
Generally speaking. And here's what, and we've called this whole thing, if your life, oh wow, your marriage is an oh wow marriage.
Yes, yes.
And that goes through the 5 things. So, do you want to just point out what the 5 things are?
The first week we talked about the beginning of your marriage, which is a very exciting phase, and we entitled it "Oh Yes," because there's just a lot of amazing things going on.
Yep.
A lot of chemicals and hormones in your body that are producing a lot of great feelings and feelings of infatuation and attraction.
And over some time, that all comes to a stop, and you realize the person you married isn't perfect, isn't a prince, isn't a princess, there isn't unicorns for real, and all that kind of stuff. And you move into the next phase, which is, this person is the real deal, and maybe I don't like them.
Well, we're 2 flawed individuals who have come together. And
that's right.
So
the next phase we talked about, which I think was the last session we had together, is the oh dear phase. Like, oh dear. So you just get through that, and then life gets really busy. Maybe kids enter the scene. Jobs, careers.
Maybe bought a home, or
mortgage
maybe a
payments.
second vehicle, and
just a
lots
little
of
bit
activities,
crazy.
and
So that's the 3rd phase.
Yes.
The 4th phase is oh boy, and here's the announcement we want to make to you. We're not going to talk about that tonight. We are going to talk about that the next time we get together, the next Monday night that rolls around. But tonight we were going to talk about something that is very unique to any phase. And we just thought we needed to take a little bit of time just to have kind of a shout out to this problem that it happens in any marriage, anytime.
Anytime, yeah. Start, middle, end, yeah.
And here's what this phase is. It's the oh no.
Yeah.
The oh no. And this is, we're going to try to have a little bit of fun tonight, but while we talk about the oh no phase is not fun at all.
It's not fun, no.
In fact, it's one of the most challenging things that can happen. So let's define what the oh no stage is that we're going to talk about. It could happen to someone who's in the oh yes stage, the very first honeymoon stage. It can happen in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th phase that you go through. But more than likely, this is the sad news, more than likely in your marriage,
at some
this
point,
phase is going to hit and go through your life. So the oh no phase is defined by what sort of things? It's defined by...
Oh dear, crisis. Here we go again. But we're not going to talk about our car accident this time. But it's defined by just life-altering challenges that come. They can come randomly, just without warning, issues, disasters, misfortunes, illnesses. Well, we were going to ask to put in the chat if you could describe for us some of the things. What would you describe as life-altering events, crisis, issues?
Yeah, this doesn't have to be personal. This doesn't have to be a testimony.
Yeah, no,
this
you don't have to share your own necessarily, but let's just get our brain juices going. And what are some things that could possibly happen to any couple that would really, really throw them into a whole different phase of marriage?
So you got things like misfortune. You've got all kinds of stressors that come. This is life-altering stuff that happens to us a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times it has to do with health issues and things like that.
Yep.
So we've got some people here, and hey, look, we're all humans. We can't help but even put our, we said it doesn't have to happen to you, but most of you are fishing from the from the pond or from the lake that you live in.
Personal experience.
A newborn child. Well, that's a stressor, certainly, but a newborn child that's not well, a newborn child that, in our case in the city of Toronto, goes to sick kids, and a job layoff, deaths in the family, illness, job loss, parents need to move in. That's something that's happening more and more, isn't it, in our life, and not something necessarily that we plan for. Car crashes. It's not even your fault, or maybe it is your fault. Medical situations, hospitalizations, bankruptcy, that kind of ties in with job loss as well. Loss of a child. It's not even that your child is sick and needing an operation, but that is just, isn't it just an awful, awful thing? Debt keeps coming up here. So infidelity, car accidents. We've got a lot of things, and we could kind of keep going, isn't it? As we start this Marriage Monday off with a, this is not great to really talk about.
No, but it's good.
But it's the reality, isn't it?
It's not good, but it's good to, I don't know, to know that things are not always going to be perfect, for sure.
And so this is an important thing that I think that we want to really explain as best we can here on Marriage Monday, as marriage counselors that we are to all of you. If we're going through 5 phases of marriage, this isn't really a phase. Do you know that there's possibly some people that will go through their whole life, their whole oh wow marriage, and not really encounter these type of things? I think they're few, but there are people like that.
Yep.
And then there's kind of the rest of us. And these kind of things that we go through, these challenges, these hurts, these wounds, these tears, can come up at any time. Now, some may try to say that some of these come up at a certain phase or a certain stage in your marriage, but that's pretty hard to prove. You can be in the honeymoon stage and something terrible happen.
Absolutely. As in the case of our friends who, pretty early in their marriage were living at sick kids with their child, basically. So, So we've got really, this is what we just like to talk about tonight. Thank you for sharing with us and helping us kind of flesh out the specifics, the definition of what this problem, this oh no, when the oh no hits. Remember what we're talking about tonight. I am not a professional nurse. She's not a professional doctor. So we're not going to talk about the specifics of how to get through some of these very challenging phases like health or mental health or something like that. But what we are really serious about is how do we help your marriage through stuff like this? How do we help your marriage through challenges like this? So where are we at? Am I supposed to advance the slide? I think so,
If I can find it, we can do it. So before we go and give you some of our encouragement when you're in the oh no stage, this is stuff that we have figured out from our life, going through our own times of oh no, and we have. Hopefully we'll not just break down and cry tonight when we talk about some of ours. And as we talk about some of yours, We're people of faith, and a lot of people in the live chat are with us as well, people of faith, some from our congregation, some from our church, some not. It is good for us to be together, and every time we get together on Marriage Monday, we usually have a scripture from the Bible that really speaks to the faith that we believe is important to have in your marriage. And behind us, Psalm 46. Do you want to read this for us?
And some, we're always trying to find a scripture that has a good guiding principle in it for whatever we're discussing. So sure, I'll read Psalm 46. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Well, that's good news. Therefore, we will not fear, though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam and the mountains quake with their surging. That's awesome. That's incredible. But basically, no matter what we go through, God will be our refuge and our strength and our help, which we need so much help in these stages that we go through that are, as we said, unpredictable and just totally take you off the rails in your life until you kind of find your bearings and then the things that we're going to talk about in a few minutes. Right?
Yeah. But before we get to those things that we want to suggest will help you in your marriage get through times like this, we also just want to pause and acknowledge with as much empathy as we can that this is very difficult. I mean, it's just a very difficult conversation tonight. I just couldn't in good conscience start off with, hey, tell us the silliest song you know. Hey, we're going to juggle a little bit. The topic is really kind of heavy. And we're going to discuss whatever happens to us. We're going to hopefully talk about it in such a way that we're prepared for what may be happening in your marriage right now and in your life right now, or what may be coming in the future. But we do have to just acknowledge that when you're in times like this, there's even passages that bring us great faith and they bring us endurance, and they've kind of become this, I don't know, this foundational idea that gets us through these times. But that's not without its challenges. And sometimes when we read passages that are meant to encourage us, they seem to be almost a little bit like a Band-Aid off the wound. They hurt even more. And sometimes we're in these moments where I read, wow, God is my refuge. I don't feel that right now. I got nowhere to run and hide. When I'm with Him, it feels more painful than I'm with, or God is my strength. He's an ever-present help in my time of trouble. And to that, we really do want to give some advice to help, but also we've recruited, I guess, is the best word. Yeah. How would you express what I'm about to say?
Well, and it's so true. I'm glad you paused there because it's very true. Sometimes even sharing the Bible with someone who is just initially in a crisis can just really feel very cliche and trite, right?
Like,
so we don't want to do that.
Uncaring.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. But we are excited tonight because we enlisted some help for this Marriage Monday, and I love our church because we have amazing couples, and there's some amazing people that we surveyed, dozens and dozens of people that we surveyed about crises that have happened in their lives. And some of these people, it's happened in the past, and some of these people, they're currently in a really challenging stage of life. And some people don't even see any relief in the foreseeable future. This is going to be their life, for the rest of their life. And so these people are our heroes, and we were talking about how we're calling them our resource team because they have been just amazing resource for everything that we've planned to talk with you about tonight.
It's really true, and I don't know if they want to be referred to as the crisis resource team or the bad things happen to you in your life resource team, but we did. We put the word out to just scores of people, and they've kind of come through for us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
In the sessions past, we've had videos as we've talked to some other resource people. We're not going to do that tonight. We didn't want to alienate these people or kind of put them up on the screen.
And we had more than just the three couples.
Yeah, there were so many of these people who are helping us, but we want to just say thank you to them, and I think all of you will appreciate what they've done and how they've helped us with this session.
Let's get
so
started.
Let's do it. So here we are. There's two things that we want to say when you're going through the oh no session or the oh no time. It's not even really a phase. It can just happen, and when it does, there's two words that we want to look at tonight. and that is realizing and embracing the transition, the reality of what's happening, and then also
The opportunity.
the opportunity, which is transformation. So we'll get to transformation in just a minute, but let's start with transition. And you want to jump into that?
Sure. Well, I mean, when these crazy things happen to you, you get a diagnosis or you know,
Bad
you
news,
get bad news,
a phone call, a knock
you know,
on the
it can be
door.
a slow progression, as in depression, these things that really derail us. There's so many changes right away. There's just incredible change that happens in a couple's life. And we wanted to mention too that we're not here to talk about necessarily how to get through illnesses and job loss and depression and all these things, but we want to talk about how to build up your marriage.
That's right.
Through it, right? And so recognizing right away, this is a huge change for a couple, and there's so much that goes into this phase. There is oftentimes so much research and education that has to happen when something new has happened in your life.
The first thing you got to do when you get some bad news, or when you get a diagnosis, or when someone rear-ends you in a car, like, there's no end to the problems that can come at us. But the first thing that you've got to go through in your life is just acceptance, isn't it?
True.
Right?
Yes.
You just got to sort of say,
true.
well, and that's the hardest thing for us, because we sort of wrestle. I don't want to accept this. Why did this happen to me? I don't deserve
Well,
this.
when you
or
say
we
that,
don't deserve
it makes me
this.
think that even before acceptance, there's kind of a shock and a grief phase,
could
right? Where
possibly
you
be.
have to even just let it sink in, and that can take time. I think there's stages before you get to acceptance.
And all this is part of transition, right? All of a sudden your life was going this way. Life was great. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make all this money. I'm happy. I'm married. We're
Right.
gonna. And all of a sudden, wham.
That's a big one. We're gonna,
We're gonna.
everything changes for what you're going to be doing.
Yeah.
Possibly, and but I really do hear from a lot of the people in this season of life that they need to be proactive, that they need to, once they do get to that acceptance, in fact, did you put that up, the slide, the acceptance?
Oh,
think you're
I
supposed to be
didn't
advancing
know.
the slide.
I was just.
I don't know
maybe
where
you're
I'm
waiting
going.
for me
I
to
am
do
very
that. Sorry.
reliant on those slides.
Okay, yeah.
But anyway,
So, yeah.
so yes.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. After that really challenging stage of the initial shock or the slow progression, and then just the sad reality, there is just a lot of things to do, and we're going to get to some of those in a second.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So a lot of times when you're transitioning and you've got this this huge problem, there's research that you've got to do. There's figuring things out. So if one of the spouses gets...
A lot of the couples, sorry, I cut you off.
No, please, go ahead.
A lot of the couples talked about this is a time to figure out each other's strengths, because you've got to work together. A lot of talk about working together as one, but dividing and conquering as well. If someone's really good at research, then they're in charge of all the research. And if someone's really good at advocating, writing down all the questions to talk to the doctor about if it's an illness.
This is you.
This is
you.
me?
Yeah. I'm really good at crying a lot, feeling sorry for myself. These are things I really... but you are really good at all of those things, okay? Let's face it. Let's make a plan. Let's do it. That's certainly a strength of yours.
Sure. I mean, I do like to try and find the solutions quickly, but that isn't always the case. That's not always possible in these situations. And so even everything that we're going to talk about, we're kind of like peppering all different kinds of things tonight, but not really staying on one, whether it's an illness or a job loss or
it's true, because we can't really wrap our mind around what's the one, like there is no one significant problem that comes into one or generally to any marriage, right? They're just as vast as the people who watch this. And so we're sort of throwing out stuff all over the place, hoping it sticks with these kind of things. We talked earlier this week about the potential when you're in a crisis. There can be this imbalance of power in a marriage.
Yes.
And I'm curious. I want to ask you about that, because
that really gets down to the roles, right? That we're talking about.
Okay.
The roles can really change in the category of transition. Roles can really change. Someone was the breadwinner, and now all of a sudden they're the patient spouse.
Right.
right? And so they feel, this imbalance of power, and so that can be really difficult. So did you want to get to the roles part, or if we completely
Sure.
talked about the adjustments and all the things that need to be done?
Well, it sounds like you think we might have missed something, so just hit it. Go for it.
Okay. Well, just under the category of practicals, we really were trying to find lots of practicals, and some of the things that sort of emerged from the surveys were just simple things like, if you have a big network of family and friends, then they all want to know what's going on. They want to know what's happening in the situation. They want to pray for you. They want to help you. They want to serve you. So a lot of people talked about needing, in this transition, they needed to come up with a support system, people
Right.
that could really help the family, even outside of your family. And even choosing maybe one person outside of your family who would be the communicator to everybody else. So you don't get 45 phone calls, what's happening, you communicate to one person. Or one spouse wants to post everything on Facebook so that people can find out that way. There's
Yep.
all kinds of levels of communication that become very complicated from what I'm understanding in this phase of life. So, but for sure the roles do change inside the marriage and can become very confusing when you had things working one way and now all of a sudden they're going to be working another way. So
Yeah, that community is really great. Some of this stuff you would think is just kind of common sense, but when a crisis does hit, right? When there is a death or when there is something like that, you have people around you who actually care for you and they want to know. And isn't it kind of funny right in that moment, I know you want to know, but I don't want to talk to you, right? Like it gets really kind of wonky. So you want to just be able to decide, even right now, or have the kind of friends around that you can say, I need a little bit of help
well,
here.
and that was a big thing that
sort of
people
run interference for you.
Yes, and they talked, about that, about needing to find the right friends, and how some people that you feel like will really be there for you aren't able to be there for you. Even sometimes friends can even get mad at the people in the crisis, for not communicating enough, which is really crazy.
This
but
is
that,
crazy.
that does happen, and so you have to really not be afraid to just, can't deal with these people, these friends, because they just don't really know the right thing to say.
Right.
They're going to say the wrong thing, and it's not helpful, and so a lot of grace all the way around, it seems like.
Yeah,
in
that's
this
one of the worst things about crisis in any kind of crisis in your life is that sometimes some of your friends or your family, they take on a certain amount of crisis too, and they expect out of you who are going through a difficult time.
It's complicated. It's very complicated.
So that's human relationships, but that's not what tonight's all about.
No.
It's about making sure
yes.
this stays in good shape, and so you got to be protective of your spouse when you go through times like that.
Okay, so let's talk about the roles of a patient spouse
Okay.
and a caregiver spouse,
So-
because that seems to be very common.
Okay, so the assumption here is like I am not, but if I were sick, I would be the patient spouse in our relationship. If I got a diagnosis, you would automatically take on the role of a kind of a caregiving spouse. So that's what you're talking about?
Yeah, and there seems to be a common need for the patient spouse to not lose all their sense of power.
Right.
And so you were mentioning that earlier.
Right.
You got to it sooner than I was ready for.
Yeah,
But
it's fine.
that imbalance of power can be complicated, and so you want to really try hard to reestablish your marriage as equals, even
Yes.
though one person is needing all the help. And so there's a few practicals that people gave us that I'm pretty excited about sharing.
This is our research
Our
team. What do we call them?
team,
I
yes,
forget again.
they're just amazing people, our heroes. But one of the things that we heard was that the patient spouse
Yes.
can feel shut off from the caregiving spouse if the caregiving spouse is trying to protect them too much, like not tell them how they're really feeling and be honest about their emotions, or even how they're feeling about the problem. The problem being whatever, the prognosis or the disaster or the
But isn't a
the
really
problem.
good marriage, in a really good marriage, aren't you like super noble, and like if I'm the caregiving spouse and I should be super noble and not tell you what I'm feeling.
Well,
I should keep that from you.
apparently you
should
can
tough it
take
out.
away my feelings of being needed. Like if you don't, sorry, who are you again? It just makes
Hello,
sense.
my name's Kevin.
When
Nice to
you
meet
put
you.
us into it, it doesn't make so much sense. But the patient
okay.
spouse needs to feel needed. And so if the caregiver is not being open about how they're feeling, and a lot of things that we learned are that if you can sort of isolate the problem that you're dealing with, whatever it is, from the marriage, and so it's okay to talk about, I really dislike what's happening in our lives because of, XYZ. Without criticizing the spouse, you're really, sort of getting out your frustration over the situation, and you can have deep and vulnerable talks about it.
Yeah.
And that can really reestablish some of the equality that you feel because the patient.
Is the chat still live though?
Well, I said Blair Thompson on hers. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Whoa, we're ready?
Sorry.
This is us.
Okay.
Are we back?
Well,
Well, listen.
we just had a little crisis, but a small crisis compared to what we're talking about.
So everybody, technology, we love it as much as you do. And we were in the middle of talking about problems.
Well,
Problems in your life.
We were talking.
You're not gonna
sorry,
play along with my
okay.
joke here. We were
Yes,
in the middle
go
of our
ahead.
problems.
I'm
and then
stressed out. I'm sorry.
I know. All right, let's go to this. Let's start all over again
I
here.
feel
What are
bad
our
for
issues?
everybody.
First thing you got to do is express your grief. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. Well, we were talking about the patient spouse.
Yeah, you're not playing
Oh,
along.
I'm so sorry.
You're in
I
a
don't-
problem right now. Express you. I mean, we might as well live it out. Show everybody at home. This is how you do it
Oh,
when bad
okay.
things happen
All right.
to good people. You got grief. You got to accept your situation. We were accepting our situation. We were talking with Chris.
We were getting ready to go home.
Our tech guy. I was like, "Let's call it. Let's go. They'll start the car.
Okay.
Let's get out
No,
of the
we
studio."
have some good stuff to talk about. So
We do.
We do.
Who knows where we got left off though?
I know where we left off.
Lead us, please.
Okay. So, is that okay?
Give me a kiss. Go.
Oh,
That'll bring
dear.
down the internet.
All right. I just need to breathe for a second. So
Wait a second. Are you the patient spouse right now? Am I the caregiver right now, or what?
I just feel disappointed because a lot of people that we surveyed are watching, and I want to make sure we get through all their good stuff because I think it's really, really powerful.
Go.
Okay, so we were talking about the patient spouse, and I think another way that it's suggested that they can give, even empower themselves, is by being encouraging to their caregiving spouse. You know,
Yes.
no matter what, even if your caregiving spouse isn't totally on point, encourage all the little things that they're doing. Many women struggle with this. I've learned that their husband had to go into a mode that he was never in, like taking care of all the meals and the groceries and the kids and all this kind of stuff, and how powerful it was, for her just to see, wow, he is stepping up, and important to encourage no matter what. And that's powerful on the part of the patient spouse to do that. So, yeah.
Yeah, and the big issue is not so much that Kevin and Lisa are going to tell you tonight on Marriage Monday that we're going to stop all problems from happening. That will not happen. Problems will come. There's just no way. Internets will stop, and let's be honest, that's not the worst problem in the world.
No.
Especially when we're talking about real life, serious problems. But we're here tonight to talk about that your marriage doesn't have to tank just because you're in this oh no moment.
Yeah.
Whether the oh no moment lasts a short time or whether it lasts a long time. And I'm telling you, or we are telling you, that when we get in these crises, our desire to survive kicks in, and we are willing to jettison things that we don't think are important. So we are willing to throw overboard things like, and a lot of the stuff is legitimate when you're in a crisis, but the one thing you don't want to throw overboard is your marriage. You will regret that. That's not the thing that you chuck out when crisis happens, whether it's a diagnosis or a mental health issue or even just a life thing there. Something that kind of came to my mind when we had, a couple minutes of no internet was the fact that, I was just going to talk a little bit about even mental health issues. When one spouse is struggling, it seems to us, when it comes to things like mental health issues, when one spouse is struggling, we treat that person, of course, we have to treat that person somewhat differently. We have to adjust, right? But we treat that situation as not not as a real health situation. And we kind of came up with this analogy, didn't we? A lot of times when it comes to the burden, if one person has some mental health issues, we think to ourselves, well, I can really change them. I can really love them through it. I'm going to put all my energy into that
Right.
person.
Be very
and,
supportive.
And we're going to win this battle. And
Yeah.
that may have some truth to it, but it's the equivalent. We don't do that with any other health issue.
Yeah.
For example, if I have a bad lung, it's not
I can't change your lung by loving you and
exactly.
supporting
It's not
you
going to
and
get better if
being
I
positive.
have carpal tunnel syndrome.
Yeah.
It's Lisa can't love my fingers
yeah,
better
yeah.
again. But when it comes to that sort of mental health thing, we start to think
Yeah.
that I can, and then that person who might be providing care, they start getting their feelings hurt. Like, well, am I not good enough? I'm really loving you, and we can get into all kinds of
Yeah,
bad
the
ways
caregiver
there.
spouse can fall into self-blame, thinking I'm not being a good enough spouse, and these problems wouldn't exist if I was a better spouse, and which is just not true. And there's many different things that we're learning that the caregiver spouse needs to be aware of. Burnout is a huge one,
Yeah.
And really understanding how to, it's very cliche, but self-care. It's a cliche to say self-care, but it's just really, really important. And it's cliche because it's so important that it's said a lot.
That's right.
And in the case of some people with aging or ailing parents, the caregiver of the aging parent, because it's usually their parent, needs the other spouse to be the caregiver of them. So there's like a caregiver of the caregiver, making sure that they're not burning out. And we heard wonderful things about things that people do to make sure that they're really checking in and making sure that their spouse is doing all right. So there's a lot of check-ins. There's a lot of making sure that everyone is just emotionally doing all right, because it's just a really this is a time where there's big major issues. Not you're not emotional about the small stuff anymore. The emotion is about the big stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's really, really important.
Right. So is that transition? I guess so.
I think
when
so.
when these things happen, you go through.
Sorry, the internet, loss of internet is making us all over the page here, but we'll hopefully get on track. It's all good.
That's right. Well, there's next Monday.
That's true.
We can get back on
That's
track
true.
then too. So let's keep going here. So we did talk about that you go through when these oh no moments hit, or when they even last, that you've got to go
A lot
through
of change.
your.
Yeah.
You got to go through your transition. You got to accept it, I guess. Accepting is a huge part of it.
Make lots of adjustments
But there is the possibility of transformation, even when oh no
yeah,
happens.
yeah,
When
definitely.
bad things happen, there is the possibility of transformation. And this is where we found our crack team of people who are vulnerable with their
Very helpful.
problems that they're going through. This is where we found them particularly compelling, as they shared the possibility of transformation as well.
Yeah. Well, there was just so much talk of growth in the relationship. The major silver lining of these crises that people have gone through seems to be the growth in their marriage. A lot of people talked about that they made this declaration: there's no back door, there's no backing out. We are never,
Sounds like wedding vows.
It does. And what great security that brought for them. We know some people watching this, that's not the reality for you. It is very reassuring to know that your spouse will be there for you when you really need them to be there for you.
Yep. But I've got a real problem that I feel kind of emotionally, and I'm sure some of you do as well, is when we're going through these just gut-wrenching, awful times, and who hasn't or who doesn't, when you're going through a time of loss, when you're going through a time of actually losing somebody that you love, going through a time of, there's been all kinds of loss mentioned here. This stuff just puts you right into the dark night of the soul. And then there's always people like us that are going to come on things like this, and we're going to say, oh, don't worry, there's silver lining. And that's really hard to hear. And I suppose what is that? I mean, you're a professional Myers-Briggs person. Is there a personality type? Is there a type of person who's just a little bit more cynical by nature? Oh, don't talk to me about silver linings. You don't understand. Or is there something more to it?
Oh, there's definitely personality in there. There's definitely people that want to go inside and introspective, and the extroverts want to get out there and, find a connection outside of the problem. So for sure. So I think it's being patient with, whichever way.
Right.
Whichever way you are. One thing you're reminding me, though, that one thing that people said is that no matter what, they can't both go down at the same time. Someone has to be up if someone's going to go down. And you could tell some of the people that we surveyed are, as you say, realists, very real.
Where are my realist people
and,
at?
And they were like, yes, I know science proves that being positive helps through these situations, but if it does or doesn't, you got to be positive just for your spouse. There's a pragmatic, view of it.
Be positive just for your
just
spouse.
For the other one.
Now that is some seriously blinding love right there.
Yeah.
Be positive if for no other reason, because remember what we're talking about is Marriage Monday, for no other reason than just for your spouse.
Yeah.
What a great line. You might want to jot that down or put it on your phone or get a tattoo that says that if we're going to go down, we both don't go down together, okay?
Yes,
so
yes.
I don't know. Do you work that out in the schedule? Do you put that on the fridge? Today's my day. I'm going down, right?
It's a simple thing to do, to recognize.
We do that pretty well, don't we? We make sure, and sometimes you even have to say it. Look, I can't do this today.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
And I think there's a quote, you were going to put up a quote that someone else said about being
do
positive.
Some silver lining quotes.
Yeah, why not? This one, I love this quote from one of our resources. People.
Yeah.
How important is it to be positive? On a scale of 1 to 10, it's 100,000. So that's great.
And so these next kind of, I don't know, silver lining quotes, wisdom quotes that we got came from some of the people we respect the most. Like we said, we just put the word out to our community, just scores and scores of people. And Lisa already said this, but I just want to emphasize this again. Some people are just going through their oh no time right now. Some people have been in their oh no time for years. Some people have moved into their oh no time, and they know that they're never going to come out of it in this life. So it's a wide spectrum of people, and yet this group of people were just profoundly wise, but profoundly encouraging.
Yes.
To those, they wanted to share, look, you're going to go through this, but there's a way through it. And everybody pretty consistently, even in the dark of it, pretty consistently pointed to silver linings in some way. So there is this idea of transformation in your worst times. Transformation in your marriage because of job loss or because of bad
some
news.
couples learned how to communicate in the most vulnerable of ways that they never would have learned if they didn't go through this. They talked about learning how to name their emotions, being able to do that, which is so profound. And we always talk about, not criticizing, but really expressing how I am feeling as opposed to you or,
Right.
And so a lot of that, a lot of holding each other, hugging each other, hanging on to each other, a lot of praying together, a lot of connection. Someone mentioned that after a near-death experience, they just realized, wow, we don't have each other forever, and have learned to really cherish each day, which if we could all learn how to do that in every phase of marriage, that would be profound.
It almost sounds warped. It almost sounds kind of sick. But I really do wish for every marriage, because I know it produces great marriages, but you really do wish for every marriage that you have the opportunity to go through your challenge and to go through it really hanging on to each other. I really do wish for all of the marriages that you're able to hold each other and to be in tears together, not for the sake of the pain of the bad thing that's happening, but there is something that is just so deep in that that.
Yeah, a lot of talk about empathy, a lot of talk about learning how to, just even having fun with it. One couple, the husband gets in his wife's wheelchair and wheels around,
Just to understand.
just to understand, what does this feel like?
Isn't that so cool? That's great.
Wow.
Another quote that we've got up here is kind of sort of a silver lining and the importance of it. It's it just says this: it's extremely important to stay positive. Now, this is coming from somebody who's got a very challenging situation. They've got a very challenging thing that's happened that's affecting their marriage, and here's their advice. It's extremely important to stay positive and faithful to God. And we talked about this a few sessions ago about when you are moving into the next phase of your life, that faith and spirituality are the next things to really buttress and strengthen your marriage. When you come out of that honeymoon phase where it's all just sort of silly and infatuation, you better find some faith soon, because the problems are going to come. So listen to this. It's extremely important to stay positive and faithful to God, to know that God is with us. I may not know, here it comes, probably this could be in the Proverbs, right? I may not know why, but I have to believe there's a reason that He, meaning God, will reveal later. That's the kind of thing that people of faith really hang on to in their most difficult times. And it's the people of faith and the marriages that have that kind of faith that become the marriages of mystery. They're the marriages that are just unexplainable, and people will say, you're so strange, you're so peculiar, you're so odd. And some people even go as far to say, you guys must be fake because you are not, at each other's throats, or you're not stonewalling each other, but you're still staying with each other through your challenge.
Yeah, and that was discussed as well, just the amazing ability to, witness your faith to other people who are not people of faith, and how people are drawn to couples, like literally drawn to couples who can stay positive and happy and still have fun. And
we know what some of you are thinking right now, though, when Lisa says something like that. Hey, this problem that you're going through, you got to go through it, and just know that it's going to be a great example for other people someday, and you'll be able to witness or share about God and what God has done. Doesn't that sound so spiritual? And there's some of you out there thinking, going, no, I don't want to have that. I would like not to witness to other people if that gets me out of this problem. I have no interest in telling other people. Hey, that's a very real feeling.
Yes, yeah,
especially when you're in it.
Very, very real to be bitter and angry and frustrated and not impressed with God when you're going through something that's so disappointing.
But this is what our research team really found, though, that as you go through it and you work through your bitterness, remember, this is not just about you. This is about having a great marriage. When you go through these situations, when you do start to go through that, our research team and the many people that were sending us messages just this week and giving us advice consistently send the message of, you get through it, and then you do actually want to help other people.
Yeah.
You do. It's almost like it's inerrant. It's deep inside of who we are. If we have our druthers, if we have our way, we will want to help people.
Yeah.
So you got to get through your own O time, or start traveling and journeying in your own O time, but eventually there's going to be a part where you're like, I can do some good out of these tears and out of this terrible time.
Yeah,
Another quote?
Sure. Yeah. No, I was just going to say, we would always pray for the cloud to move off of our heads, right? But sometimes it doesn't for a long time, and sometimes we have to learn how to like gray, cloudy days or something. But just couples just kept saying that even their children just mention your positive attitude through your challenges gives us such great security. And so even witnessing just to your own children, your own family is so powerful.
Yep. This is a great quote, and this is from, we like this one because this comes from, someone who's really gone through some real dark night of the soul. This comes from a family who's gone through some really difficult times, but they've come through it. It's not to say that all their problems have gone away, but they've really come through it. But so this quote came from them, and this is what we like. You only have a 1% chance? Okay. Well, that's 1%. What's the alternative? Give up and die? So what? Keep on going.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, that really speaks to
And
people.
they did beat the odds. So, you know, that positive attitude probably did help them.
Yeah, and I think there's some people who read that and think, well, that sounds kind of crunchy, or I don't really know. But I'll tell you what, there's some of us, we're at those really hellish moments of our life, and you're just kind of hanging on, and you go, look at 1%. Okay, I'll take 1%.
Yeah.
And what am I going to do? It's really sort
Amazing.
of drives on
Incredible.
the fighter inside of all of us. And if you're going through a real oh no time, we want to encourage you not to call out the fighter in your marriage, 'cause that's not, but call out the fighter in your own heart
Yeah.
as well, for the sake of your marriage, and if you have kids, for the sake of your kids as well.
Absolutely. And but it goes without saying that not everyone gets to have that victory, right? I mean, even in
That's
in
true.
our own situation, when my dad was going through cancer, we definitely prayed for those, you know, let's beat the odds and everything. And
Yeah, 1%.
that
All right, we'll take it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And my dad, right till his last breath, he held on to.
That's true.
If I have faith,
It's
you know,
true.
God will heal me.
Bless his heart.
And but it just doesn't, you know, the most healthy 63-year-old man on the
Yeah.
planet, and you know, it was just his time.
Yeah.
So we don't always have the answered prayers that we're looking for.
Right? And in the case of life and in the case of marriage, I mean, that's certainly true, and that takes us back to a real oh no time.
Terrible time.
And by the way, it wasn't an oh no couple of weeks, right?
No.
This was years of our life,
Yeah.
and years of our family's life and our kids' life as well. But we really, even during those times, really realized the importance of we're going to have to protect our marriage. And
Yeah.
as the quote says, or behind us actually on the screen, we did hang on to even the 1%.
Yeah.
So this is what we've got, this is where we're at, and so that became important to us as well.
Any more quotes?
Yeah, you want to do
good.
this one?
Oh yes. Our challenge has cemented our loyalty and given us proof of our devotion.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
that
that's
is beautiful.
A beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful word from one of our research couples. I don't know. I haven't figured out. Just people who are going through a really tough time, but you see, they say right. We put the word out like, tell us what you're going
Yeah.
through. Give us advice so we can give everybody else some advice. And look at just the amazing things that people write, and through some really tough time, and not just like. It's not them just looking back to 3 weeks ago, it was tough for us. It's tough right now. It's tough while they write it, but it's beautiful. It's almost angelic, right? Our challenges, right, cemented. Our devotion to each other has been proven out to be real because we've gone through this.
And
time.
you know, I love there's so many quotes I wish that we could have put up, but another person talked about that I knew I had a strong marriage. I knew it, but then when this happened, what I thought I knew, you know, was confirmed.
Yeah.
We have a strong marriage, and just beautiful things like that. I just think is so powerful. It's sort of faith in action, right? We prepare, we have faith, but we don't really know if we have faith until it's tested.
Yep.
And faith in each other, faith in our relationship. Will we rise to the occasion? Will we be there for each other? You know, those are amazing times. And other silver linings that we talked about were just beautiful moments. Like I know when my, we helped my father die at home. He lived right next door to us. Our parents lived right semi-attached to, but then we also brought my grandmother into our house to you know, for her last days. And some of those moments with I love my grandmother so much, and some of those moments with her in our house are like I will just cherish for the rest of my life. There's silver linings like that.
Right.
Or like tell about the couple with the mother who has dementia, and why don't you tell that
No,
story?
please go ahead. Yeah.
No, it just okay, but I won't.
I
be
know
able to,
you've got it in your mind. I just
I
don't
know,
want
but
to say
I
it
won't
wrong.
be able to say it without crying. Okay, you know.
Well, that's why we all paid the big money.
Okay,
We
so
want to see you cry.
just like envision this picture. You know, a couple with you know small children at home, caring for the wife's mother who has dementia, and there's a lot of dark days. And
Yeah.
her seeing her husband make her mom laugh and smile and dance and sort of have a good time, and just what that did, like for the treasure in her heart, you know, like when he's loving her mother and making her mother's day brighter, he's loving her.
Yeah.
You know, and so
Yeah.
those beautiful moments, I don't know, they're just deep and meaningful and satisfying in a
Yeah.
way that is just incredible.
So mad respect for the
Yes.
people who go through not
Yes.
challenging times. I mean, can I be so rude as to say this? You're going through a really tough time. You've had some bad things happen in your life. Okay. But you're not that special. That's an awful thing to say. It's right. We can tell you ours. You know, we can talk about, like, you know, I can get my story going and my father committing suicide and da da da. We've all got them, right? That's a problem. But mad respect for the people who look out for their marriages during the oh no times that come in their life, whether they're oh no short times, bang, got hit by a car, didn't see that coming, bang, lost my job short times, maybe you can get another job again, or the oh no times that are long and they're enduring, or the oh no times that are health and you may never actually come back from it. But the people who we've reached out to, who we've listened to, they're sharing about there is something more beyond this. You've got to hang on to your marriage, and there's a silver lining here. And of course, you hang on to your faith. So, with all of the problems that we have, to all of you and all the problems that you have, and all the internet problems we all have, we're grateful that you've
Patience
taken
and grace.
grateful that you've taken a little bit of
Yes.
time to be with us on Marriage Monday. This wasn't a phase. We just wanted to talk a little bit about oh no can hit at any time. And if you're going through that, our heartfelt prayers are with you. You'll go through it.
Yeah.
No matter what happens, hang on, protect, appreciate, look out for
Cherish.
that person who is with you in your marriage. We'll be back for next Monday, and we'll continue on the phases of marriage next time. So thanks for being with us. Thanks
Yes.
for your patience and your love. And
Yes.
if we just want to end off by just saying this one thing. When you get done and all the chat is done, stop by the comment section. That's a whole different section. When the live chat is done, drop a comment in. And maybe not tonight, because the comment may be a little bit like, well, their internet dropped or something like that. Or go back to some of our other sessions and drop a comment in. We're hearing that that's important for live streaming on YouTube as well. And these couple of old people who barely know anything about it, but we're hearing that's important. So go ahead and do that. And it's time for us to say
Good night.
good night. God bless.
Thank you. Good night.